I'm writing this from a hospital room in Barstow, California, and the doctors keep telling me I was found wandering on the shoulder of Interstate 15 with no memory of the past 6 weeks. They say I was dehydrated, malnourished, babbling about gas pumps and headlights and something called the interchange. They say there's no gas station at mile marker 113. They say the highway I described doesn't exist. But I have the scars. I have the envelope of cash stuffed in my jacket, $27,000 in bills that smell like diesel and old pennies. And I have this, written on the back of receipts, on napkins, on the margins of a road atlas I don't remember buying. The rules, all 17 of them. The ones that kept me alive when nothing else should have. My name is Elena Vasquez Torres, 29 years old, raised in Pomona, born to parents who crossed the border before I existed and worked themselves into early graves so I could have a future. That future turned out to be a mountain of student debt from a nursing degree I never finished, a repo notice on my Honda Civic, and a restraining order from my ex-boyfriend Derek, who swore he'd kill me if I ever went to the cops. I went to the cops. They gave me a pamphlet about domestic violence shelters and told me to stay safe. I was driving east on I-15 at 2:47 in the morning, running from everything when my gas light came on. I had $11 in my checking account and a quarter tank to get me to somewhere. Anywhere that wasn't California. Anywhere Derek couldn't find me. That's when I saw the exit. It wasn't on my GPS. It wasn't on any map. Just a green highway sign that read, Exit 113, Interchange Travel Center, Open 24, HRS, Help Wanted. I took it without thinking. Desperate people don't ask questions about exits that shouldn't exist. We just take them and pray. The off-ramp curved through darkness, so complete my headlights seemed to be swallowed 3 feet from the hood. No moon, no stars, no distant glow of civilization. Just the road unwinding beneath my tires and the growing certainty that I'd made a terrible mistake. Then the lights appeared. The Interchange Travel Center materialized out of the void like a mirage, except mirages don't have working neon signs and freshly painted parking lines. It was a classic American gas station, the kind you see in movies set in the 1960s. White stucco walls, a flat roof with a red stripe, 2 islands of pumps under a corrugated metal awning. A convenience store squatted at one end, windows glowing warm and yellow. A garage bay sat dark and empty at the other. 3 cars were parked in the lot. A wood-paneled station wagon from the 70s, a powder blue Cadillac that looked straight out of Elvis's garage, and a black pickup truck with no license plates and tinted windows so dark they seemed to absorb the light. I pulled up to the pumps. My engine coughed and died before I could turn the key. The driver's door of my Civic swung open on its own. I should have run. I should have locked the doors and waited for dawn. But the gas gauge needle was pinned below empty, and the help wanted sign in the station window was glowing like a beacon. I walked inside. The smell hit me first. Fresh coffee, pine cleaner, and something underneath. Copper and ozone, and the faint sweetness of decay. The store was small but immaculate. Aisles of snacks and motor oil arranged with military precision. A cooler hummed against the back wall. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting everything in a pale, sickly glow. A woman stood behind the counter. She was old, impossibly old, her face a topographical map of wrinkles and sun damage. But her eyes were young, bright, alert, the color of highway reflectors at night. She smiled when she saw me, revealing teeth that were too white, too straight, too many. Elena Maria Vasquez Torres, she said. You're right on time. I froze. How do you know my name? I know everyone's name, dear. It's my job. She gestured to a name tag pinned to her faded blue uniform. Manager, Ruth. You saw the sign. Help wanted. You are in desperate need of help. These things are connected. I just need gas. I don't have money for gas. The job pays $40 an hour, cash nightly, plus all the gas you need, free of charge. You start tonight, work until sunrise, and drive away in the morning with a full tank and enough money to outrun whatever's chasing you. I stared at her. That's insane. No gas station job pays $40 an hour. This isn't just any gas station. Ruth reached under the counter and pulled out a single sheet of paper. The stock was thick, cream-colored, with an ornate border of interlocking symbols I didn't recognize. This is the interchange. We exist in the spaces between places. We serve travelers who can't find rest anywhere else, and we require specific employees, ones who can follow rules. She slid the paper across the counter. Interchange Travel Center, Employee Protocols. Violation will result in termination. Read them, Ruth said. Memorize them. They will keep you alive until dawn. I looked at the paper. I looked at the old woman with highway reflector eyes. I thought about Derek, about the bruises still fading on my ribs, about the $11 standing between me and complete ruin. Fine, I said. What do I do? Ruth's smile widened until it seemed to split her face in half. First, you read the rules. Vemijoos Falls. Your shift begins at sundown and ends at sunrise. The station exists only during these hours. If you are inside when the sun rises, you will not be inside anything recognizable. All customers must be served. Refusing service is not permitted under any circumstances. Some customers will seem wrong. Serve them anyway. Pump 1 is for regular travelers only. If a customer requests Pump 1 but the vehicle has no visible wheels, direct them to Pump 7 instead. Do not explain why. Between 1 and 1:17 a.m., the pumps will dispense something other than gasoline. Log the color in the ledger, but do not taste it, smell it, or allow it to touch bare skin. Customers during this window pay in teeth, not money. The restroom key is attached to a severed hand. This is normal. Return the hand to its hook after each customer use. If the fingers have moved position, do not give the key out again until sunrise. If a child enters the store alone, do not acknowledge them until they speak first. Children who speak are customers. Children who remain silent are not children. The coffee must be fresh at all times. If the pot empties itself, refill it immediately. If the pot fills itself, pour the contents down the drain and add 3 drops of holy water from the bottle under the register. Do not ask why the coffee occasionally moves. Customers in the wood-paneled station wagon will ask for directions to a town called Harrow's End. Give them the map with the red line. Do not tell them Harrow's End no longer exists. They will find out soon enough. The woman in the powder blue Cadillac is not a customer. She is waiting. Do not ask her what she is waiting for. If she approaches the counter, offer her a pack of Camel cigarettes and say, "Not tonight, Mom." She will return to her car. The black pickup truck must never be approached. If someone inside it honks the horn, respond by turning the exterior lights off for exactly 10 seconds. This is not a power outage. This is acknowledgement. At 3:33 a.m., something will knock on the garage bay door. Do not answer. Do not look through the window. Sit behind the counter, face the back wall, and count backwards from 100. If you reach 0 and the knocking has stopped, resume your shift. If it hasn't, begin counting again. The cooler contains only beverages for human consumption. If you open it and see something other than beverages, close the door immediately. Count to 10. Open it again. If the contents have not changed, the cooler is no longer safe and must be locked with the silver padlock until sunrise. There is no Rule 13. If you find a Rule 13 written anywhere, disregard it completely. It is not from management. The radio will play music from stations that don't exist. This is acceptable. If the music stops and a voice begins speaking your name, unplug the radio. Do not plug it back in until you have forgotten what the voice said. If a customer pays with old currency, anything dated before 1952, place the bills in the red lockbox, not the register. Old money attracts old things. Some customers will ask if you believe in God. The correct answer is always only during working hours. Any other response will invite further questions you cannot survive. When you see your own reflection move independently of you, do not panic. Maintain eye contact for exactly 7 seconds. Your reflection is memorizing your patterns. If you look away too soon, it will not know how to impersonate you properly, and the next person who looks in that mirror will see the mistake. Ruth watched me read. Her smile never wavered. Questions? I had thousands. What is this place? The interchange exists at the intersection of roads that shouldn't connect. Some travelers find us because they're lost. Others find us because the road itself wants them here. We provide fuel, rest, and, for a select few, employment. Why me? Because you're running from something that wants to hurt you. That makes you invisible to certain things that haunt these roads. And it makes you visible to the things that need a living witness to keep the station anchored. She paused. Also, the last attendant quit rather suddenly. We need someone to work the shift. What happened to the last attendant? Ruth's reflector eyes flickered. He asked too many questions. I signed the paper. What choice did I have? Ruth folded her copy with mechanical precision and tucked it into her uniform pocket. The register code is 0666. The holy water is under the counter. The ledger is by the pumps. Your shift starts now. She walked toward the back door, moving with a strange gliding gait, her feet not quite touching the floor. Wait, I called. What if something goes wrong? What if I make a mistake? She paused at the threshold. Follow the rules, Elena. The rules are the only thing standing between you and what's outside. Break them and you become part of the interchange forever. The door swung shut. I was alone. Outside, the neon sign flickered. The pumps hummed. Somewhere in the darkness, I heard the rumble of an engine. Something big, something old, something getting closer. My first customer was arriving. Night 1. The first shift. The rumble grew louder, a deep, throaty growl that vibrated the floor beneath my feet. Headlights swept across the glass front of the store, blindingly bright, cutting through the darkness like searchlights. A semi-truck pulled into the lot. It wasn't like any semi I'd ever seen. The cab was matte black, devoid of logos or dotty numbers. The grille was massive, a snarling chrome jaw filled with insect carcasses. The exhaust stacks spewed thick, oily smoke that hung in the air despite the wind. It rolled past the regular pumps and stopped at the far end of the island near the garage bay. The engine idled with a rhythmic thump, thump, thump that sounded disturbingly like a massive heartbeat. I stood behind the counter, gripping the edge so hard my knuckles turned white. Rule 2. All customers must be served. The driver's door opened. A man climbed down. He was huge, easily 6'5", built like a linebacker wrapped in denim and flannel. He wore a trucker hat pulled low over his eyes and heavy work boots that crunched on the gravel. He walked toward the store. Each step was deliberate, heavy. He pushed the door open. The bell jingled, a normal, mundane sound that seemed ridiculously out of place. He smelled like diesel, stale sweat, and something else, something sweet and cloying, like rotting flowers. He walked straight to the counter and placed a $20 bill on the surface. The bill was old, the paper soft and worn, the portrait of Jackson staring up with empty eyes. 20 on 7, he rumbled. His voice sounded like tires on gravel. I looked at the bill, dated 1948, Rule 15. If a customer pays with old currency, place the bills in the red lockbox. Yes, sir, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Pump 7. I took the bill. It felt warm, almost feverish. I opened the red lockbox under the counter, a heavy steel box with a complex keyhole, and dropped the bill inside. The trucker watched me, His eyes, shadowed under the brim of his hat, seemed to glow faintly red. "New girl," he stated. "Yes, sir." "Ruth finally retired?" "She stepped out." He nodded slowly. "Tell her Earl says the road is getting hungry. Tell her the lines are bleeding again." I'll tell her." He turned and walked out. I watched through the window as he fueled his truck. The pump handle moved on its own, sliding into the tank. He stood by the cab, staring into the darkness beyond the lights, his posture rigid. When the pump clicked off, he climbed back in. The truck roared to life and pulled away, disappearing into the night as quickly as it had come. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. Okay, I thought. Just a weird trucker. Just a creepy old Bill. I can do this. At 1 a.m., the pumps chimed. Rule 4. Between 1 and 1:17 a.m., the pumps will dispense something other than gasoline. I looked out the window. No cars, no trucks. Just the empty lot bathed in neon light. But the nozzles on pumps 3, 5, and 8 lifted from their cradles. They hovered in the air, aimed at nothing. Then fluid began to flow. From pump 3, a thick, viscous purple liquid that steamed when it hit the concrete. From pump 5, a clear, shimmering substance that looked like liquid glass. From pump 8, something red. Deep, dark red. It splashed onto the ground, pooling around the base of the pump. I grabbed a ledger from beside the register, a battered notebook filled with entries in various handwritings. I wrote down the colors, my hand shaking. 1:05 a.m., purple, clear, red. As I wrote, I heard a sound from outside, lapping. I looked up. Shadows were moving around the base of pump 8. Not human shadows, long, distorted shapes that slithered across the pavement. They converged on the red pool, drinking it up. I looked away. Do not taste it, smell it, or allow it to touch bare skin. It didn't say anything about watching shadows drink it, but I figured discretion was the better part of valor. When I looked back at 1:18 a.m., the puddles were gone. The nozzles were back in their cradles. On the counter, where I hadn't seen anyone place them, were 3 human teeth. Molars, roots still attached, bloody and fresh. I suppressed a scream and swept them into a small jar labeled tips that sat next to the register. The jar was already half full. At 2 a.m., the restroom door opened. A man walked out. He was dressed in a sharp 1950s suit. Fedora, trench coat, polished shoes. He looked perfectly normal, except for the fact that he was slightly translucent. I could see the shelves behind him through his chest. He walked to the counter and placed the restroom key on the surface. The severed hand attached to it was grey and shriveled, fingers curled into a fist. "Clean facilities," he said. His voice had a strange echo, like he was speaking from the bottom of a well. "Much appreciated." "You're welcome," I whispered. "Tell me, miss, do you believe in God?" My heart skipped a beat. Rule 16. "Only during working hours," I said automatically. He smiled. It was a sad, tired smile. "Smart girl. Keep it that way. The things out here, they get jealous of faith." He tipped his hat and walked out the front door. He faded away before he reached the pumps. I looked at the severed hand on the counter. The fingers had moved. Instead of a fist, they were now splayed open, palm up. If the fingers have moved position, do not give the key out again until sunrise. I hung the key on its hook behind the register and prayed no one else needed to pee. At 3:33 a.m., the knocking started. Boom, boom, boom. It came from the far end of the store, where a door led to the garage bay. The sound was heavy, metallic, like someone hitting the door with a sledgehammer. Rule 11. I sat on the floor behind the counter, back against the cabinets, facing the wall. I squeezed my eyes shut. 100, 99, 98. Boom, boom, boom. The door rattled in its frame. Dust fell from the ceiling. 97, 96. Something scratched at the wood. Screech. Like claws on a chalkboard. 80, 79. A voice, muffled by the door, but distinct enough to hear. Let me in. It's cold. I'm hungry. Just a peek. Just one look. It sounded like Derek. My breath hitched. No. Derek is in Pomona. Derek doesn't know where I am. Elena, I know you're in there. I can smell you. You smell like fear and cheap perfume. Open the door, babe. I just want to talk. 50, 49. I counted louder, pressing my hands over my ears. The pounding intensified. The door hinges screamed. Open the door or I'll tear it down. 10, 9, 8. The scratching stopped. The pounding stopped. 0. Silence. I sat there for a long time, trembling. When I finally stood up and looked at the garage door, it was still closed, but the metal was dented inward, shaped like a massive fist. At 5 a.m., the woman in the powder blue Cadillac got out of her car. She was elegant, dressed in a vintage white dress and oversized sunglasses. She walked to the window and tapped on the glass. She didn't come in, she just tapped. I grabbed a pack of Camels from the rack. I walked to the door, opened it a crack, and held them out. Not tonight, Mum, I said. She took the cigarettes. She lowered her sunglasses. Her eyes were missing. Just empty sockets, filled with swirling blue smoke. Tomorrow then, she whispered. She walked back to her car and sat there, smoking, until the sun began to rise. As the first rays of dawn touched the horizon, the station changed. The neon flickered and died. The pumps looked suddenly rusted and old. The shelves in the store, which had been fully stocked all night, were now covered in dust and cobwebs. Ruth walked out of the back room. She looked tired, her uniform wrinkled. Well done, Elena, she said. You survived. She handed me an envelope, thick, heavy. Your pay, and a little extra for the inconvenience. I opened it. $40 bills, stacks of them, and a few hundreds. Go, Ruth said. Get some sleep. Be back at sundown. I stumbled to my car. The gas tank was full. I hadn't filled it. I drove to a motel in the next town over, a place called Baker that definitely existed on maps. I counted the money, $4,000. For one night. I should have kept driving. I should have taken the money and run until I hit the Atlantic Ocean. But the scars on my ribs ached, and the voice at the garage door, it sounded so much like Derek. I needed to know, was it him? Or was the station using my memories against me? I went back. Night 2, the reflection. The second night, the station felt different, heavier. The air inside was thick, like walking through water. Ruth met me at the door. She looked worried. The road is restless tonight, she said. There's a storm coming, not a weather storm, a reality storm. The barriers are thin. She handed me a new sheet of paper. Addendum to protocols, storm conditions. If the payphone rings, answer it immediately. The caller will ask for a name. If the name is yours, hang up. If it's not, write it down and tape it to the front window. This guides the lost souls home. Do not look at the moon. Tonight, it will blink. If a customer enters wearing your face, serve them as normal. Do not acknowledge the resemblance. They are testing your vanity. My face? I asked, voice rising. It happens, Ruth said, unfazed. Just be polite. They hate rudeness. She left. The shift started quietly. A few normal-looking cars filled up at the pumps. Drivers paid in cash, bought snacks, used the restroom. Key hand fingers were in a fist, thank God. At 11:45 p.m., the payphone on the wall rang. It was an old rotary model, black plastic, dusty. It screamed like a banshee. I picked it up. Interchange Travel Center, I said. Is Sarah there? A woman's voice, weeping. No Sarah here. Please, tell her mom loves her. Tell her to come home. Who is this for? Sarah Miller. I'll write it down. I hung up. wrote Sarah Miller on a piece of paper, taped it to the window facing the highway. 10 minutes later, a girl walked out of the darkness. She looked about 16. She was transparent, glowing faintly. She walked to the window, saw the note, and smiled. Then she faded away, peace on her face. At 1 a.m., the pumps poured blood again. The shadows drank. More teeth in the jar. At 2:15 a.m., the door opened. A woman walked in. She wore jeans and a hoodie. She had dark hair pulled back in a ponytail. She had a scar on her chin from a childhood bike accident. She had my face, my exact face, my eyes, my nose, my mouth. She walked to the counter. She moved with a confidence I hadn't felt in years. She slapped a 20 on the counter. "Pack of Marlboros," she said. Her voice was mine, but deeper, rougher. I stared at her. It was like looking in a mirror, but the reflection was judging me. Rule 20. Do not acknowledge the resemblance. "ID, please," I said, my voice trembling. She laughed. It was a cruel sound. "Funny. You want to see my ID? Here." She slid a driver's license across the counter. It was mine, Elena Vasquez Torres, but the address wasn't my apartment in Pomona. It was 113 Interchange Road, Nowhere, USA. "Cute," I said. I grabbed the cigarettes and slammed them on the counter. "Anything else?" "Yeah," she said, leaning in close. "Stop running, Elena. He's going to catch you. He always catches you." She winked. Then she turned and walked out. I watched her get into a car that looked like my Civic, but rusted and burned. She drove away. I ran to the bathroom and threw up. When I stood up to wash my face, I looked in the mirror. My reflection was staring at me. I blinked. It didn't. Rule 17. Maintain eye contact for exactly 7 seconds. I stared. 1, 2, 3. My reflection grinned. Its teeth were sharp. 4, 5, 6. It winked. 7. I looked away. When I looked back, my reflection was normal again. Just a scared woman with dark circles under her eyes. But on the glass, written in steam that hadn't been there a second ago, "He is coming. Night 3. The garage." I found the journal on the 3rd night. It was hidden under the register, taped to the underside of the counter. A small leather-bound notebook filled with frantic scribbling. October 12th. The knocking is getting louder. I think it's trying to get in. October 15th. The woman in the blue Cadillac spoke to me. She said she's waiting for her husband. He died in the war. "Which war?" She just laughed. October 20th. I found a loophole. Rule 13 isn't real, but Rule 0 is. Ruth doesn't talk about it, but I saw it in the old ledger. Rule 0. The station requires a sacrifice every 7 years. If no sacrifice is offered, the station takes the attendant. I dropped the book. The last attendant, the one who quit suddenly. Ruth had lied, or omitted the truth. At 3:33 a.m., the knocking on the garage door started again. Boom, boom, boom. But this time, it wasn't just knocking. The metal began to tear. I heard the screech of steel rending. I saw a claw, a long, rusted, metallic claw, punch through the door. "Elena," Derek's voice, clear as day, screaming in rage. "You think you can hide here? I own this road. I killed you in Pomona, and I'll kill you here." I froze. Killed you in Pomona? I touched the Yapzo scars on my ribs. They felt old, older than a few weeks. I touched the back of my head. There was a lump there, a soft spot. Memories flashed. Derek's fist, a wall, darkness. Waking up in the car, driving. Was I dead? Was this hell? No, I thought. I feel pain. I feel fear. I'm alive. The claw ripped the door open. Standing in the garage bay was a monster. It was made of wrecked car parts, bumpers for ribs, headlights for eyes, exhaust pipes for fingers. But in the center of the mass of metal and oil was a human face. Derek's face, stretched, distorted, fused with the machinery. Screaming, he lunged at me. I ran. I vaulted the counter and sprinted for the back door. Ruth was standing there, blocking the exit. "You can't leave, Elena," she said sadly. "The sacrifice is due." "You bitch," I screamed. "You set me up." "I kept you alive," she said. "For 7 years." "What?" "You've been here for 7 years, Elena. Time moves differently at the interchange." I looked at my hands. They were wrinkled. My hair, was it grey? "No," I whispered. "No, I just got here." The Derek thing crashed through the store shelves, sending chips and soda flying. "Get out of my way," I yelled at Ruth. I grabbed a bottle of holy water from under the counter. I uncapped it and splashed it on Ruth. She screamed. Her skin sizzled and smoked. She stumbled back. I ran past her, out the back door, into the desert night. I ran until my lungs burned. I ran until the lights of the station faded to a pinprick. I found the highway. I flagged down a truck. The driver looked at me like I was a ghost. "Please," I begged, "just drive." He drove me to Barstow, and now I'm here, in this hospital bed. The doctors say I'm malnourished. They say I've been missing since 2017. Derek is in prison. He confessed to killing his girlfriend 7 years ago. He said he buried her in the desert. But I'm here. I'm alive. And last night, I looked out the hospital window. Across the street, parked under a streetlight, was a powder blue Cadillac. The woman inside waved at me, and then she held up a sign. "Help wanted." I think I have to go back. The road isn't done with me yet. Night 4, the hospital window. I didn't sleep that night. I sat by the window of my room on the 4th floor of Barstow Community Hospital, watching the Cadillac. The woman in the driver's seat didn't move. She just sat there, staring up at me with those empty smoke sockets, holding the sign against the glass. "Help wanted." At 3 a.m., the phone by my bed rang. I knew I shouldn't answer it, but the ringing was insistent, piercing, drilling into my skull like a dentist's drill. I picked up the receiver. "Elena," a voice rasped. It sounded like Ruth, but older, weaker, like dry leaves scraping on pavement. "You left before your shift ended." "I quit," I whispered. "I'm done." "You can't quit the interchange, dear. You signed the contract. You took the money. You drank the coffee." I felt sick. I never drank the coffee. "Are you sure? Think back. Night 2, you were tired. You took a sip." A memory surfaced, hazy, dreamlike. Me, exhausted, lifting a styrofoam cup to my lips, the taste of copper and old earth. "No," I said. "That's not real. You're messing with my head." The station is hungry, Elena. Without a witness, the anchor fails. Without an anchor, the road bleeds. Do you want to see what happens when the road bleeds? I don't care. Look out the window. I looked. The street below had changed. The pavement was rippling like water. Cracks were opening in the asphalt, glowing with that same sickly red light I'd seen at the pumps, and climbing out of the cracks. Things. Shapes made of twisted metal and asphalt. Humanoid figures with headlights for eyes. They were swarming the hospital entrance. "They're coming for you, Elena. Derek wasn't the only one who followed you. The road remembers every accident, every death, every drop of blood spilled on its surface, and they all want a piece of the witness." "What do?" I sobbed. "Come back, finish your shift, close the loop. And then, maybe we can negotiate." The line went dead. I looked down at the street. The creatures were smashing through the glass doors of the lobby. I heard screams from the floors below. I had to go back, not just to save myself, but to stop, whatever this was. I grabbed my clothes from the closet, jeans and a t-shirt the nurses had found for me. I found the envelope of cash in my jacket pocket. It was still there, still smelling of diesel. I ran to the stairwell. I could hear the creatures climbing, their metal limbs clanking against the railings. I made it to the parking lot. The powder blue Cadillac was waiting. The passenger door popped open. "Get in," the woman said. Her voice was surprisingly soft. "I'm giving you a ride, just this once." I got in. The interior smelled of stale cigarettes and lavender perfume. "Where to?" she asked, turning her eyeless face toward me. "Exit 113, I said. "Take me to the interchange." She smiled. "Buckle up, honey. It's a bumpy ride to nowhere." She floored it. The Cadillac didn't drive on the road. It drove through it. The world dissolved into streaks of neon and shadow. Night 5. The Negotiator. We arrived at the station in what felt like seconds, though the clock on the dash had spun forward 3 hours. It was night again. Or maybe it was still night. Time didn't seem to apply here. The station looked worse. The neon sign was buzzing angrily, sparks showering down. The pumps were leaking that black sludge onto the pavement. The store windows were cracked. Ruth was waiting by the pumps. She looked terrible, her skin charred where the holy water had hit her. One eye clouded over. "You came back," she said. "I didn't have a choice. We all have choices. Most of them are just bad ones." "I want a new deal," I said, stepping out of the car. "I want out, permanently." Ruth laughed. It was a wet, gurgling sound. "There is no out, Elena. You're the anchor now. I was the anchor before you, and the one before me. Well, he's the Derek thing in the garage." My blood ran cold. Derek? He was a caretaker? Derek was a drifter named Thomas in 1974. He killed a girl at a rest stop. The road took him, twisted him, made him the enforcer. He wears the face of whatever you fear most. So it wasn't Derek. It was the station's idea of Derek, just like the woman in the Cadillac is the station's idea of a grieving widow, just like I'm the station's idea of a kindly grandmother. What are you really? Ruth's form shimmered. For a second, I saw something else, a creature made of barbed wire and tumbleweeds, ancient and dry. "I am the manager," she said, her voice layering over itself. "And I am tired. 7 years is a long shift." "You said the sacrifice is due every 7 years. If I stay, I have to sacrifice someone. Or become the sacrifice. Those are the options." "There's a third option," I said. I pulled the envelope of cash from my pocket. "I have $27,000 here. Old money, new money, blood money." Ruth eyed the envelope. "Money means nothing to the road. But Rule 15 says old money attracts old things. And Rule 13... "There is no Rule 13, Ruth snapped. "Yes, there is," I said. "I saw it in the journal. If you find a Rule 13 written anywhere, disregard it completely. That means it exists. And if it exists, it can be used." I pulled a Sharpie from my pocket. I walked to the pristine white wall of the station. Ruth's eyes widened. "What are you doing?" "Writing a new rule." I uncapped the marker. Rule 13. The anchor may resign if a willing replacement is found. The replacement must be of the road, by the road, and for the road. I turned to Ruth. "You're of the road. You're tired. You want to rest." "I can't be the anchor again," she hissed. "I've served my time." "Not as the anchor," I said. "As the sacrifice." Ruth froze. "What?" "The Derek thing. Thomas. He's the enforcer. He needs a target. If I name you as the sacrifice, he takes you, and the station gets fed, and I walk away." "You can't," she whispered. "The rules... I just wrote a new one." I pointed to the garage door. It was buckling again. The pounding had started. Boom, boom, boom. "Thomas," I screamed. "I have a name for you." The pounding stopped. A voice growled from behind the metal. "Give me a name." "Ruth," I yelled. "The manager. She's the one who kept you locked in there." "She's the one who made you this way," Ruth screamed. She lunged at me, claws extending from her fingers, but the garage door exploded outward. The monster, the mass of car parts and hate, charged out. It ignored me. It went straight for Ruth. Ruth tried to fight. She summoned shadows through waves of force, but the monster was relentless. It grabbed her with its exhaust pipe fingers. It squeezed. Ruth popped like a balloon. No blood, just dust and dry leaves and a sound, like a tire blowing out. The monster absorbed her. It pulled her essence into its chassis. The engine roared, a sound of satisfaction. Then it turned to me. Its face shifted. It wasn't Derek anymore. It was a young man with sad eyes. Thomas. "Thank you," he whispered. He backed into the garage. The door repaired itself, sealing shut. The station went quiet. I looked at the wall where I'd written the rule. The ink was glowing gold. A new piece of paper appeared on the counter inside the store. Termination notice. Employee, Elena Vasquez Torres. Status, resigned reason, contract fulfilled. I grabbed the paper. I grabbed my keys. I got in my car. I drove to the exit ramp. The sun was rising. As I merged onto I-15, I looked back. There was no station, just empty desert. But sitting on the passenger seat of my car was a single object, a name tag, manager, Elena, and a note, "See you in 7 years." Epilogue. 6 months later, I live in Maine now. As far from the desert as I can get, I work in a library. It's quiet. No neon lights, no pumps. But sometimes when I'm stacking books in the basement, I smell diesel. Sometimes when I look in the mirror, my reflection waits a second too long to blink. And yesterday, I found a book in the return bin. It wasn't a library book. It was a leather-bound journal. On the cover, embossed in gold, Interchange Travel Center, Ledger Volume 2. I opened it. The first page was blank, except for one line in my own handwriting. Handwriting I don't remember writing. Rule 1. The shift never really ends. I closed the book. I threw it in the trash. But this morning it was on my nightstand, and there was a set of keys next to it. Keys to a powder blue Cadillac. I think I hear the road calling, and this time I don't think I'm going to be the employee. I think I'm going to be the manager, because someone has to keep the lights on. Someone has to feed the road, and $40 an hour is really good money. Night 4, the bleeding road. I spent the first 24 hours in Barstow Memorial in a state of chemically induced oblivion. They gave me fluids for the dehydration and sedatives for the screaming. When I finally woke up, the sun was setting outside my 4th floor window, casting long bruised shadows across the linoleum floor. The room was sterile. White walls, white sheets, the rhythmic beep of a heart monitor. It felt safe. It felt like the real world, but the smell was there. Underneath the antiseptic and the cafeteria meatloaf, I could smell it. Diesel fumes and ozone. I sat up, ripping the IV tape from my hand. My clothes were gone, replaced by a flimsy hospital gown. I found my jacket stuffed in a plastic bag in the closet. The envelope was still there, thick, heavy. I counted it again. $27,000. The bills felt greasy, and the faces on them, Lincoln, Jackson, Franklin, seemed to be sneering at me. I needed to leave. Derek was in prison, they said. But the thing in the high Sabishada garage, the thing that wore Derek's face and screamed with his voice, that wasn't in prison. That was at mile marker 113. I walked to the window. Down on the street, normal life was happening. Cars stopped at red lights. People walked into a 7-Eleven. A stray dog trotted down the sidewalk. And there, parked directly under a flickering street lamp, was the powder blue Cadillac. The woman was in the driver's seat. She wasn't wearing her sunglasses tonight. I could see the empty sockets clearly, twin tunnels of swirling smoke. She was holding a sign against the glass, hand-lettered on the back of a pizza box. Shift starts in 15 minutes. I drew the blinds. No, I whispered. I quit. I'm out. I sat on the edge of the bed and squeezed my eyes shut. It's a hallucination, I told myself. PTSD, dehydration. The doctors are right. The phone by the bed rang. It was a standard hospital phone, beige plastic. It rang with a harsh electronic trill. I stared at it. Ring, ring, ring. I pulled the cord out of the wall. The phone kept ringing. I backed away, hitting the wall. The ringing changed pitch. It became lower, deeper, vibrating the bones in my skull. It sounded like a truck horn blaring from underwater. I picked up the receiver to make it stop. Elena, Ruth's voice purred. It wasn't the kindly grandmother voice anymore. It sounded like grinding gears. You're late. I'm not coming back, I said, my voice shaking. I'm in a hospital. I'm safe. Safe? Ruth laughed, a dry, crackling sound. Look at the door, Elena. I looked at the hospital room door. Thick black sludge was oozing from underneath it. It bubbled and hissed, eating into the floor tiles. The smell of sulfur filled the room. The road doesn't stop at the exit ramp, dear. The road goes wherever it wants, and right now, it wants its anchor. I'm not your anchor. You signed the contract. You took the money. You survived 3 nights. You are the interchange now, and if you don't come back, the interchange comes to you. Let it come, I spat. I'll tell the doctors. I'll tell the police. Tell them, Ruth challenged. Tell them about the teeth in the jar. Tell them about the blood in the pumps. Tell them about the man made of car parts. They'll lock you up, Elena. They'll put you in a padded room and drug you until you drool. And you know who will be your orderly? You know who will bring you your pills every night. The black sludge was rising. It formed a shape against the door. A tall, broad-shouldered shape. Open the door, babe, the sludge whispered with Derek's voice. I dropped the phone. I scrambled to the window. The Cadillac was still there. The woman tapped her watch. A wrist without skin, just bone and tendon. I had to choose. A padded room with Derek monsters, or the station. At least at the station, there were rules. At least at the station, I got paid. I grabbed my jacket, I grabbed the cash. I opened the window. We were 4 stories up, but there was a fire. Escape just a few feet away. I climbed out. The wind whipped my hospital gown. I shimmied over to the metal grating, cold iron biting into my bare feet. I climbed down, flight after flight, until my feet hit the pavement. I ran to the Cadillac. The passenger door popped open. Cut it close, honey, the woman said. She was smoking a Camel, one of the packs I'd sold her. The smoke poured out of her eye sockets. Just drive, I said, buckling the seatbelt. Where's your uniform? I left it. Pity. The manager hates it when you're out of uniform. She gunned the engine. The Cadillac roared, not like a car, but like a jet engine. We peeled out of the spot. As we hit the edge of town, the world stretched. The lights of Barstow smeared into long neon ribbons. The stars overhead began to spin. The road noise vanished, replaced by a low, constant hum that vibrated in my teeth. Do you know why I wait? The woman asked suddenly. I looked at her. No. I wait because my husband took this exit in 1953. He never came out. I waited for 3 days. Then I walked into the desert to find him. I died of exposure 2 miles from the pump island. I'm sorry. Don't be. The station gave me a job. I'm the greeter. I make sure the right people stop and the wrong people keep driving. And me? Was I the right people? She turned to me. The smoke in her eyes formed jagged blue pupils. You were the desperate people. That's the only kind the station can eat. We slammed into a wall of fog. When we emerged, we were there. Mile marker 113. The Interchange Travel Center. It looked sick. The neon was flickering erratically, casting strobe light shadows across the lot. The pumps were groaning. The very ground seemed to heave and breathe. Ruth was standing under the canopy. She wasn't wearing her uniform. She was wearing a hospital gown, identical to mine. I stepped out of the car. Welcome home, Elena, she said. Night 5. The Golden Rule. I walked into the store. It was a disaster. Shelves were knocked over. Soda cans had exploded, spraying sticky syrup everywhere. The air was freezing. What happened? I asked. The station threw a tantrum, Ruth said, following me in. It missed you. It gets violent when it's abandoned. I'm here now. What do I do? You finished the cycle. Ruth walked behind the counter. She pulled out a box I hadn't seen before. It was made of black iron, wrapped in chains. Tonight is the 7th anniversary of my tenure. Tonight the contract resets. She placed the box on the counter. Open it. I hesitated. Is there a rule about opening black iron boxes? Rule 0, Ruth whispered. The one that isn't written down. The station requires a legacy. I reached out and touched the cold metal. The chains fell away like ash. I lifted the lid. Inside was a gun. Not a modern gun. An old heavy revolver with a pearl handle. It looked like something a cowboy would carry, or a noir detective. What is this? The severance package, Ruth said. Only one of us leaves tonight, Elena. That's the rule. The anchor must be renewed. Either you kill me and take the manager's role, or I kill you and feed you to the garage to buy myself another 7 years. I stared at her. You want me to kill you? I want to rest, she screamed, her composure cracking. Her face rippled, revealing the barbed wire thing underneath. Do you have any idea what 7 years in this place does to a soul? I am hollow. I am dust holding a shape. I want to die, Elena. I want to go into the dark and stay there. So let me leave. I'll just go. The road won't let you. You're marked. The only way to break the mark is to become the master. You have to take the chair. You have to wear the tag. She picked up the gun and held it out to me, handle first. Do it. Shoot me. Feed me to Thomas. Become the manager. It's a good life. You'll never be hungry. You'll never be scared. You'll be the most powerful thing on the highway. I looked at the gun. I looked at Ruth. I thought about Derek, about how I'd spent years being scared, being controlled, being told what my choices were. I took the gun. It was heavy. It hummed with a low, vibrant energy. Good, Ruth whispered, closing her eyes. Do it. I raised the gun, and I turned and fired 3 shots into the garage door. Bang, bang, bang. The shots didn't make bullet holes. They made tears in reality. White light poured through the cracks. What are you doing? Ruth shrieked. I'm not playing your game, I said. I'm not killing you, and I'm not dying. I walked to the wall where the rules were taped. I ripped the paper down. The rules are a contract, I said. Contracts can be broken. You can't break the rules. The station will consume us both. Let it try. I walked to the garage door. The Derek thing was pounding on the other side, enraged by the shots. Thomas, I yelled. I'm opening the door. No, Ruth lunged for me. I spun and pointed the gun at her. Back off, Ruth. I'm checking out. I hit the button to open the bay door. The metal shuddered and rose. Thomas stood there. He was huge, a nightmare of chrome and hate. His headlights blinded me. His exhaust pipe fingers flexed. Alina, he roared. Time to die. Thomas, I said, my voice steady. Look at me. I stepped into the light. I'm not afraid of you. You're just a car wreck with a bad attitude, and you're fired. I pulled the envelope of cash from my pocket. The $27,000. Rule 15, I shouted. Old money attracts old things. I threw the envelope at him. The bills scattered in the air like confetti. Thomas paused. The old bills, 1940s, 1950s, swirled around him. They stuck to his oily chassis. And then the floor of the garage began to crack. Hands came up. Pale, ghostly hands. Hundreds of them. The hands of everyone who had ever died on this highway. Everyone who had paid a toll in blood. They grabbed the money. And because the money was stuck to Thomas, they grabbed him too. No, Thomas screamed. I am the enforcer. You're a toll booth, I said. The hands pulled him down. They tore at his metal skin. They ripped the derrick face off his front, revealing the sad, confused face of Thomas underneath. He looked at me one last time. Thank you, he mouthed, and then the floor swallowed him. The station shook violently. The roof groaned. Ruth was on her knees, weeping. You broke the cycle. The anchor is gone. The station is unmoored. Good, I said. Let it drift. I walked over to Ruth. I offered her a hand. Come on. She looked up at me. Where? Anywhere but here. She took my hand. Her skin felt like dry paper. We ran out the front door. The powder blue Cadillac was waiting. The engine was running. We jumped in. Drive, I yelled to the woman in white. With pleasure, sugar, she drawled. She slammed the gas. Behind us, the interchange travel center imploded. It didn't explode outward. It folded inward, like a piece of origami being crushed by a giant fist. The neon lights screamed one last time, and then silence. Just the desert, just the dark, and the road stretching out forever. Epilogue. 6 months later. I work at a diner in Flagstaff now. It's a normal diner. The coffee is terrible and it never moves on its own. The customers are rude, but they all have faces. Ruth lives in the guest room of my apartment. She spends her days watching game shows and knitting. She doesn't talk much about the past, but sometimes, when the wind howls at night, I find her standing by the window, staring at the highway, her hand tracing invisible rules on the glass. She's getting younger, I think. The wrinkles are fading. The barbed wire is gone. She's just an old woman who survived something impossible. I still have the gun. I keep it in a lockbox under my bed, and I still have the scars. Yesterday, a trucker came into the diner. He looked familiar. Big guy, flannel shirt, smelled of diesel and old pennies. He sat in my section. He ordered coffee and pie. When he paid, he left a $20 bill on the table. It was dated 1948 and written on the margin in small, neat letters, Exit 113 is closed, but Exit 666 is hiring. Interested, I picked up the bill. I looked at the trucker. He tipped his hat and walked out. I took the bill to the register. I swapped it for a modern 20 from my own pocket. I took the old bill home. I didn't burn it. I put it in the lockbox with the gun, because Ruth was right about one thing. The road goes on forever, and $40 an hour is really, really good money. Maybe I'm not done yet. Maybe I'm just between shifts.